what is research and what is research methodology and what is our research method. Under that, what parameters we do have, techniques we do have, what perspective we do have, and likewise, what kind of data we are processing, we are analyzing. Is the data numerical in nature? Is the data, say, descriptive in nature? So depending upon that, we we prepare a kind of framework of analysis as such. In every kind of research, analytical framework is an important stage. And without making analytical framework, it is definitely challenging to continue with our research. So analytical framework is definitely essential. And if I say that it is a stage in the process of research, at what stage analytical framework is to be done at a particular stage in research. So what is that stage and when does it occur there in the process of our research? When we begin with our research work, normally you see we are in research area and topic and all those things are there. And after we carry out a review of literature, precisely speaking, after we carry out a review of literature, the end product of the review of literature is supposed to be the analytical framework. So let us consider that analytical framework is the product of literature review. Up till now, I'm sure that you have attended different sessions and that in different sessions you have learned already about what is research methodology, different research methods, and also literature review. Have you attended any session on literature review earlier? Because without a literature review, we cannot go for analytical framework. As yesterday we had discussed that without the formulation of research problem, we cannot formulate the hypothesis. Okay, so hypothesis is based on research problem. So it is obvious that first of all, we need to formulate the research problem, and on the basis of that, a research problem needs to be formulated for the formulation of hypothesis. That was the point that we have already discussed yesterday. So similarly, what I want to put across is without carrying out a review of literature, we cannot go for analytical framework, because as hypothesis evolves from research problem, analytical framework evolves from literature review. And hence it is essential to first of all understand what is review of literature, also called survey, extensive survey of literature, relevant literature, and all that. Okay, so I'll include that part also in the same presentation, in today's presentation, so that together you can understand what is a review of literature, and then we can comfortably go for the analytical framework. So dear friends, here we go for the next slide. See, overall, let's get an idea of these things, as I could sense that we need some basic discussion also, besides, talking about the analytical framework, or before we jump on to analytical framework, we need to revise a little, revisit a little the basics. Okay, so that we comfortably can go ahead. Okay, what is research? You that way have understood by now the basics of research. Still, there is a cat analogy. Let me, an interesting example. Let me share that with you. It was once shared by Honorable former Vice Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Honorable Dr. Narendra Jadhav sir, cat analogy. I found that very much interesting. So I felt like including that here in this presentation. What is cat analogy? Analogy is comparison. Okay. To explain anything, we share some examples. Okay. To explain any point, a definition, we give some examples. So giving examples is like, giving analogy. So cat analogy is example of a cat. As simple as that. Okay, so to understand what is research, let's try and understand about the cat analogy. Dr. Narendra Jadhav shared with us this analogy. He mentioned in his sessions where I was, an attendee. He shared in this with that research is. Listen to it carefully. Research is nothing but locating a black cat in a dark room. I repeat, research is nothing but locating a black cat in a dark room. A very simple looking statement, but it holds the nucleus of meaning. Okay, it is densely packed with the meaning, what is research? It answers the question, what is research, very precisely. So this compact looking and simple looking sentence statement has a lot in it. So cat analogy, that is, research is nothing but locating a black cat in a dark room, full stop. One simple sentence, but answers this question very, very aptly. I hope I'm audible to you. Okay. See, what is locating a black cat? Locating a black cat means finding out. To find out a black cat. Where? In a dark room. If the room has no light at all, imagine that the room has no light at all. It is totally dark room. And inside the dark room, there is a black cat. You are supposed to find out the black cat. So to find out a black cat in a dark room is nothing but doing research. So research, the concept of research is explained so very well in an interesting manner in this cat analogy. So you see, in this example, cat analogy, example of cat. Okay, very simple. Example of cat. Through this example of cat, we can understand a few of the things that I would like to comment on. That the cat is black, but the cat is there. See, and the cat is there in a dark room. First thing, that the cat is there, the cat exists. So doing research, when we undertake any research, we find out something. So we have the hypothesis in our mind that the cat is there in the room. This is our hypothesis. Then you check that actually that is doing research. And when you start checking that, you come across problems that the room is dark and the cat is black. If the cat is white and the room is dark, it's easy. Then it is a layman's job just to enter the room and catch hold the cat and bring out and show to the world, yes, I've caught the cat. It is easy. But the researcher's job is never that easy. It is always challenging. If the room is not dark and whatever color of cat that may be, black, white, reddish, brownish, any color, you can easily find out because the room has light in it. If that is so simple, then that is not called research. Research is something where the circumstances have their own challenges. You have the hypothesis that the cat is there. Definitely the cat is there. I'm unable to find out first thing. And my job as a researcher is first to find out the cat, and second to prove that the cat is there and the cat is found out. And yes, this is the cat. To show it to the world means to present your research. So to undertake research is to take search of the cat, and to bring that out and show it to the world is present your research. So with this example, we can understand that yes, there are many hardships in the research work, and that this example can in simple manner explain what that way is research. There is earth analogy also. Example of the earth. Earlier, you might have read that somewhere, that some centuries back, people had the notion that the shape of the earth is square shaped. The earth is square shaped. That was the notion, I say, not the fact. There is much difference between a notion and the fact. Precisely the same difference is there between hypothesis and your finding. Hypothesis is tentative kind of notion that yes, this could be my finding, but I have to confirm it. I have to check it, and then step by step I go ahead with that hypothesis testing, and finally it is confirmed that yes, this is true or this is wrong. This is proved or this is disproved. Okay, so Earth was, according to people a few centuries back, Earth was square shaped, but it was in the course of time that science proved that, research in science proved that, well, the Earth is approximately, you can say, round in shape, not exactly round, but as compared to square shaped Earth, we definitely can say that the Earth is not square shaped. It is somewhat round in its shape. So you see, earlier notions were disproved, and research proved it that the Earth is round in shape. Well, the definition of research is mentioned over there. You might have read it up till now, so I won't take more time. I won't spare more time for research. Already you have attended sessions. By now you know what is the definition of research and all that, but still there's a definition on the screen. You can take screenshots, and thus you can have this literature with you. Okay. Now let's go for the next slide. I hope you can see the major types of research over there on the slide. And the major types of research are basic research, applied research, action research, empirical, analytical, quantitative, and qualitative research. Up till now, through the sessions that you have attended so far, in those sessions you must have understood something about these types of research. Still, in short, we are revisiting, as I said, because it is essential to understand. We just cannot directly jump onto analytical framework. We need a review of all these things. We need to revisit a little. Basic research is theoretical research, you see, involving any theory is, done generally in basic research. So basic research, normally the product of the basic research is any theory. Any theory comes out. Okay. Any formula comes out, any theory comes out, a model comes out, and then that happens to be, basic kind of research. Okay, Big Bang theory, for example, that way perhaps none of us are much related with Big Bang theory. Probably, if I'm not wrong, is the concern of physics. Okay, but anyways, Big Bang theory is one of the theories. Such a kind of product is basic research. Basic research gives out generally theory. Okay, applied research. is a step ahead. Applied research is application of any existing theory to your research work. Whatever research topic you have selected, okay, if you take help of the existing theories, existing models, okay, then that and apply them to your topic, then it becomes applied research as such. Literature students, we have sometimes the titles like a feminist study of so and so work, maybe Jane Austen's the select novels of Jane Austen, a feminist reading of the select novels of Jane Austen. If that is the topic, then feminist approach exists already. Okay, it exists already. So the theory, the approach, the model, the existing approaches and models and theories are taken and they are applied to your research work. So that is research. Action research, you see, is based on any problem. If there is any problem, consider that the say finance companies face any problem, okay, face a specific kind of problem, maybe recovery of loans from maybe say businessmen from a particular field, okay, particular kind of trade, from a particular kind of trade, they face the problem that recovery of loan is not possible. Then the company assigns a job. Okay, the bank people can assign job to a team that make a survey and find out the cause why that this particular trade, okay, grocery shops, for example, mobile shoppies, for example, computer shoppies, for example, if that is the specific trade from where you see that the shopkeepers of say mobile shoppies, they have taken loan from a bank, and that particularly those shopkeepers, mobile shoppy owners, are unable to pay back the loan. If that is the problem observed, then the bank assigns a job to a particular team that carry out a survey, try to understand the nature of the problem, go to the roots of the problem, and find out the solutions also. Action research. This is action research, you see. Action research is the research that focuses on a specific problem, be that any kind of problem. Now that we discussed an example related to commerce, there could be in botany that a particular kind of disease is there, and that hampers the growth of some specific kind of plant. So specific kind of plant, the growth of that plant is hampered in specific area, geographical area. Elsewhere, there is no problem. But maybe in Ahmednagar district, maybe in northern part of Ahmednagar district, some disease is there, and that the plants, the growth of plants is affected. Action research is the kind of research to find out the nature of the problem, the disease, the causes behind the disease, and also the solution on that. So a team of researchers works on it. They undertake this kind of research, and that is action research. So we need to understand, say, the types of research, what is action research and all that. Well, we have discussed some examples from botany and say commerce. Also in language learning, we can have similar kinds of problems, maybe that in the Mafusal area, in maybe the area near Bhandardara, for example, that the students in pandemic time period, that they face some problems in language learning. The team is assigned the job, they carry out the research, they visit the place, and they find out the nature of the problem, causes behind the problem. During pandemic, it was online education mainly, and the network issues were there, and such reasons come out. And even the solutions may be recommended at the end of the research work, action research. These are some of the examples. Well, I hope it is clear to you. Let's switch to the next type, empirical research. Empirical research is practical kind of research. It is carried out generally in laboratories. So in a chemistry laboratory, in the laboratory of botany, the research work that is carried out over there practically is empirical research. In short, experimentation is there, observation is there, fine, all these things are there, but precisely it is practical based research work, and it is carried out normally in laboratories. So language students, you may have doubt that it is there in science and that we are not concerned at all with this. It's not so. Commerce students also have their lab. Commerce lab is there. And also, commerce students may consider that this is not for us, or language students may consider that this is not for us, but it's not like that. Even commerce students, that commerce lab is there. So with the help of the commerce lab, with the help of the data that is there in commerce lab, you may go for research, but I'm not sure precisely in what way. Your research supervisors better can comment on this kind of research and the possibility of this kind of research in commerce lab, but it may be possible. That is my consideration. That is a hypothetical comment, you can say. Okay, that is what I feel. But your research supervisors can better guide you whether empirical research is possible in commerce or not. For language students, I would like to tell that yes, language laboratory is also there. And the study of sounds, we have headphones in the language lab, and we learn something about pronunciation, different kinds of accents, American accent, British accent, so on and so forth. To share an interesting example with all the research scholars belonging from science and commerce backgrounds, you see, American accent, for example, the word is job. How we pronounce the word job? Indians pronounce normally this word as job. Nothing wrong. Job. Indians, we people normally pronounce the word job as job. Fine. This is okay. Quite okay. Quite intelligible. Hence, okay. Now, when it comes to American speakers and British speakers, the pronunciations are different. Speaker can pronounces generally the same word as job. Job. Indians pronounce as job. Job. J has no friction of sound, almost no friction or very less friction. Job. Indian pronunciation. Job. Job is British one. American is job. Job. See, so job, job, and job are different pronunciations of the same word. The same word is pronounced differently. We can go ahead learning about, the pronunciations, also the intonations. Intonation is a rise and fall in the tone variation. In layman's term, in common man's term, we call it voice modulation, or say tone variation, change in the tone, rise and fall in the tone. Okay, when we ask a question, may I know your name, please? So in plain tone, we can say, may I know your name, please? it looks like a machine speaking to you. May I know your name, please? But human beings, we use tone variation. May I know your name, please? May I know your name, please? So, may I know your name, please? May I know your name, please? You see, may I know your name, please? No and please, a rise of the tone. May I know, please? Your name, please? Only three words. Your name, please. Your name, the two words are in a flat tone. Your name. And the last word, please, shows a rise of the tone. Your name, please. Your name, please. So change of tone is there. Rising tone is there. We study these intricacies of pronunciation and intonation there in the language lab. With the help of language lab, we can carry out research work, we can undertake research work. Okay, that is related with pronunciation, learning of pronunciation, problems in the learning of pronunciation, problems faced in the learning of intonation, maybe that the problems faced by disabled learners, hearing impaired. Yesterday I had given you that example. Hearing impaired children, they have problems in say learning pronunciations and intonations, obviously. So such a kind of work could be carried out in language with the help of language laboratory. So empirical research is possible in case of language students. Okay, analytical research work is that where analysis is the very focus, is the very focal point of this research. Analytical research work in commerce analysis is there, in science analysis is there, and also in literature and language analysis is there. So wherever we carry out analysis, for example, error analysis, a general example now that it may not be possible for me to give examples, pertaining to different fields, okay, pertaining to science and commerce and arts every time. So a general example, and I'm sure the concept will be there. Analytical error analysis. See, spelling errors are there. We several times spelling is an area that many times confuses us. Even teachers of English have confusions taking spellings. So we always have different dictionaries in our mobile phones and at home. If you can notice that over there, you can see that a dictionary is there. I'm trying to highlight the dictionary. Well, this is the dictionary. Besides the my notes icon, well, you can see that this is a dictionary that I very often use. Whenever I'm doubtful regarding the spelling of any word, I always do check dictionary. Nothing wrong. Rather, it is appreciable, kind of sign of learners, teachers, everybody to check dictionary, to look up a dictionary. Error analysis, errors in spellings, deviations in spellings. To check that, we make use of dictionaries and all that. But work of analysis, Espit Corder. Espit Corder is a big name in error analysis for language students, especially Espit Corder. You see, Espit Corder's error analysis is the research work that is available to all of us. And you see, he has carried out, error analysis, different ways of carrying out error analysis and all that. Grammar, errors in grammar are there, errors in spelling are there. So spelling errors, grammatical errors could be analyzed, and that could be analytical kind of research work. Okay, so wherever there is analysis, broadly speaking, it is analytical research. Quantitative research, you perhaps already know about it. Quantitative research is wherever data is in the form of numbers, figures, percentage, ratio, proportion. All these are the aspects of quantitative research. Wherever data is in numerical form, numerical, in number form. So whenever it is in the number form, the research work becomes quantitative research, statistical research. Okay, we have statistical analysis sometimes, statistical kind of methodology is used over there. So quantitative research is basically number centered, figure centered, or say wherever data is numerical, research becomes quantitative. So we have different formulae in all that we use for our research. Qualitative research, generally in say literature, character analysis, for example, when we study a novel, when we study a poem, we carry out the research work and find out the qualities of a character, for example. We find out the features of a novel, so on and so forth. So wherever we point out qualities, quality is at the center, qualities, properties, okay, characteristic features. So these are the concerns of qualitative research. If numbers, figures, and proportions and percentages are the concern of quantitative research, then quality, feature, traits, characteristic features, these are the concerns of, say, properties. These are the concerns of qualitative research. Okay, well, so this is about these types of research. The major steps in research, if you take a look at this, that we go ahead first of all for research area and a research topic. We have already discussed this, so I won't talk much about that. But research area is something bigger, and from that area we narrow down our search to sub area, and in that sub area further we narrow it down to research topic, and thus we get a research topic as the beginning of research. Then we carry out extensive survey of relevant literature. This is important in today's deliberation, because analytical framework is always based on, say, extensive survey of relevant literature. So this is an important step in research work, every researcher. That way, what is extensive survey of relevant literature? It is also called literature review of literature, theoretical framework, and all that. Theoretical review, theoretical framework, review of literature, extensive survey of literature. These are the terms more or less used for the same step in our research work, that the researcher is supposed to first of all understand what research has already taken place in the area in which I am working. If I am working in a particular field, in a particular research area, in that area, what research has already taken place? We need to take survey of that. We need to take a review of that, and that review helps us understand what research is already done and what research work needs to be done. Thus, we find out the research gap. Research gap. You might have heard about this term up till now. I'm sure that you have come across this term. I'm sure. Research gap. What is research gap? Research gap means the research work done previously and the research one is the research work that is to be done. So old research work, existing research work, and the new research work, there is some gap, you see, as such. So whatever research work is done in any area, okay, consider a pie chart. Okay, in that pie chart, you come to know that in this area shown in the pie chart, in this area, 70% of the area is covered by the research done already. Shakespearean tragedy, for example. Shakespeare, the dramatist, He was a tragedian. He had written tragedies, okay, dramas, a kind of drama that has got sad end. Okay, so tragedies. Shakespeare was a dramatist. We know everybody. So I'm taking these examples that even science students know. Shakespeare was a dramatist and he had written tragedies. Lot of research already has taken place on Shakespearean tragedies. So if there is a pie chart, okay, that shows you that on Shakespearean tragedies, already a lot of research work is done. If we consider different research areas related to Shakespearean tragedy, okay, A.C. Bradley can be, the big name I would like to recommend for the students of literature. Read A.C. Bradley's Shakespearean tragedy. You'll come to know that there are different areas on which already a lot of work is done. So in that pie chart, you come to know that 80%, 90% of the research areas are already worked on. But there is still 10% area where there is a gap. That is a research gap. Means it is this area in which research work is not done, or research work is done, but it is not of that good quality. So there is a scope. Gap gives us scope for research. So to find out the gap, we require literature review. Literature review helps us understand what research work has already taken place in any area and what new research work is possible. So that gap of research could be, say, discovered, found out, and on the basis of that, new research work can come out of that. So this is one of the objectives of carrying out literature review. Okay, I'll go for the details of literature review in the forthcoming slides. But basically, literature review means getting information, collecting information about what research work has already taken place in your area, what different books are written on this research area, what different articles are available in particular research area, what different documentaries are available, what different say interviews are available, what different kinds of documents, sometimes government documents are available. History department has geology department has its own documents. So say environment related documents are available already. So whatever literature is already available needs be surveyed, and it is that step number 2. Okay, we'll talk more about that in the forthcoming slides. Then once you see as the steps in research, we have to prepare bibliography for background reading. So bibliography, in short, quite in short, because already bibliography is list of the books and journals and maybe web sources that you are going to refer to. That way, there is a difference between bibliography and the works cited. Bibliography is a general term for the list that you prepare. Bibliography can be the list of the books that you collect. But not that you collect references from all the books. Consider that in your bibliography, there are 100 books listed. But the researcher doesn't collect references from all 100 books. Maybe he collects references from, suppose, 72 books, 78 books, 60 books, 40 books. We can prepare a list of only those books from where we have collected references, and that list could be labeled as works cited. Works cited. So there is difference between bibliography and works cited. Okay, works cited are also called references, or better, works cited. So works cited is a list in which we have the books from where we actually have collected references. Okay. And bibliography is a general list. Okay. We read those books, we read 100 books, but we do not collect references from all 100 books. Maybe we collect references from, say, 72 books, 70 books, 40 books, for example. So we need to prepare another list, that is list of works cited. So those 40 books can be cited differently because those are the works from where you have collected the references. I hope this point is clear. Is it? I need your feedback.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Renuka madam. See, bibliography and works cited. So this is the difference. We can we'll go ahead and see that formulating a research problem yesterday discussed that there are and this step is very important because without identifying what is the problem that I'm going to study, what is the core part, what is the focused part of the topic that I'm going to work on. So that needs to be formulated and systematically designed. Systematically find out and present the precise area, okay, the precise part of your research area, the precise part of your research topic, that yes, this is the precisely the part that I'm going to focus on. That is my research problem. So we need to formulate research problem, and on the basis of research problem, then we can develop our hypothesis or we can formulate our hypothesis. Fine. We need also to define aims and objectives. Yesterday, I have talked about that, and up till now, you have heard about it. So we'll switch to the next one. It is deciding scope and limitations. See, scope and limitations also on this yesterday I have commented on. But if you have doubts, you can interrupt me and you can ask me your doubts if you want me to explain any of these points. If I switch to next point, if your doubt regarding any of the previous points, you can interrupt me. We'll discuss that again. So till yesterday, say you must have understood up to point number 7. Point number 8 is adopting appropriate research methodology. Okay. Now this is something very important. Dear friends, now I open it for discussion. What do you mean by research methodology? Very basic thing, and you have heard about it up till now. It is my assumption that sometimes we understand the concept, but we are not very sure that in what terms I can explain that. Perhaps you are at that stage. It is my assumption, okay, that you have understood what is research methodology, but perhaps you are at a stage that how to phrase it properly, how to put it in words properly. In simple words, research methodology is a set, I repeat, research methodology is a set of different research methods. Research methods, I would say, every research method is a set of different perspectives and parameters, tools, and techniques that the researcher wants to use, needs to use in his research process. Research method. I'm using two terms, research methodology and research method. Precisely speaking, the difference between research methodology and method is that we very often say research methods. And normally we say research methodology, singular usage and plural usage. Research methodology is an umbrella term. Research methodology is an umbrella term, and it is inclusive of different research methods. We pick one of the methods, and under that method, we think that certain perspectives or approaches are applicable over there. Pertaining to certain approaches, we have certain tools and techniques and parameters that are applicable to your research work. So we prepare a set. We prepare a set while carrying out our research work, and it is the set of one research method, including generally one perspective, generally I say one perspective or one approach, including some certain fixed parameters, including certain tools and techniques of data collection, data classification, data analysis, data interpretation, overall data processing. Tools and techniques in data processing. Data processing means data collection, data classification, data analysis, data interpretation, and even data presentation. All the things are inclusive there in data processing. So we prepare this set and we then call it, this is my methodology. Revisit your research proposal and check whether you have written anything about a specific research method, the specific approach, the specific kinds of parameters, tools, and techniques in data processing, data, primary data, secondary data. Have you written about all these things in your research proposal? Check it. If not, then when you write your chapter number 1, clarify, comment on all these things. That will boost your confidence, I'm sure. So this is a tip that I would like to share with you. So comment on all these things to make your research work systematic. Basically, research methodology is there to systematize our research work. As Suresh sir just answered this question, it is systematic kind of plan, kind of say the set that I'm using the term set. So methodology is an umbrella term, and my research methodology is inclusive of the research method that I have chosen. Under that, whatever perspectives, approaches applicable that I've chosen. Under that, parameters, tools, techniques for data processing, nature of data, and all those things. So I need to chalk out all these things. Once I chalk out all these things, I can be sure that, yes, this is my methodology. Many times it is our observation. I'm sure that Honorable Principal Dr. Lavre sir and Dr. Varpe sir, Dr. Khirkar sir, and the research supervisors from different research centers may agree on this point that it is our common experience, dear participants, dear research scholars. It is our common experience that the first draft of research proposal doesn't have these things so well written. But no blames. No blames to students. Have we studied these things earlier? No, not. So how come that the research scholars who are teachers, many of you must be teachers teaching in different colleges. So after being teachers If I have flaws in my research proposal, I start blaming myself. Let's not blame. Have we got an opportunity to learn all these things? Coursework is the platform. Coursework is the opportunity. So, lot many thanks to Sonai College and the research centers, Honorable Principal Dr. Lavre sir, all the research coordinators, Dr. Varpe sir, Khedkar sir, and all the supervisors. Thanks to all of them that they create such an opportunity for the research scholars to understand these basic things. So before going for a research work, these things should be crystal clear to us. So my research methodology, I spared more time, I know, but I think it is somewhere essential, and I could sense that, and hence sparing more time on this. Okay, so my research methodology is the set of the research method that I have chosen, the perspective or approach that I have chosen, the parameters that I have chosen, the tools and techniques I'm using for data processing, the nature of my data, primary, secondary, and all that. So collectively, all these things together, when I systematically chalk out and write down about all these things together under the heading research methodology, then my research work becomes perhaps systematic. Of course, in consultation with your research supervisor, you're supposed to do this. And this is common to all. As Dr. Lavre sir yesterday pointed out, that research methodology is something common almost to every discipline. The basics are common. Subject-wise, a few differences could be there. Like empirical research could be carried out more in science discipline and less in maybe commerce or arts, humanities. Comparatively less, I say. So such differences could be there, but overall the basics remain common. So friends, this is research methodology and so the difference between methodology and method is that methodology is an umbrella term and it includes different methods. What all research methods are there? We'll be going for that also. So after these stages, we then go for a research proposal and then the format of the thesis in case of PhD students. Okay, research area and research topic. These are just a few examples for literature students for your exercise. Frame the research topics from the following areas of research. So romantic poetry could be one of the research areas. Stream of consciousness novel as a type of is a type of novel. So these are the research areas. On the basis of the research areas, you can frame the topics. For example, the topic could be themes in Wordsworth's poetry. Okay, and the title of the research work could be a thematic study of the select poems by William Wordsworth. Okay, fine. Formulation of research problem is an important aspect. So, say analytical framework. Analytical framework is the final product of all these steps. So when we think of analytical framework, it is highly essential. And as I sense that it is necessary to also talk about these basic aspects. So we are sparing time for this. But remember that analytical framework, we just cannot jump onto analytical framework. Before that, we need to take review of all these steps in the research, and then we can go for the framework as such. Formulation of research problem. So research problem is a topic that is worth studying. It should be worth studying. Academically, it should be relevant. It should be socially significant. It should be need-based and genuine. It should be something that should contribute to the body of knowledge. It should neither be too vast or too vague. It should be very clear, okay, and it should not be too vast to undertake. Okay, too big. Consider that cooperative societies from Maharashtra. We just cannot study everything from all the cooperative societies from entire state. that will be out of reach. We have our own constraints. So we delimit it to Ahmednagar district. Maybe select cooperative societies. Consider 100 cooperative societies in Ahmednagar district is belonging to different, say, tehsils, like from Kopargaon, from Rahata, and from Srirampur, and all these different places. We choose some cooperative societies and we carry out the study. So you see that it should not be too vast a kind of, say, topic. So it should be delimited somewhere. Research problem is something that can be stated in the form of a research question to get definite answer. Yesterday, I have already talked about it, that research problem, at the end of the statement of research problem, we can frame some questions precisely so that we get a specific target that, yes, this is what I want to study. Is disability the root cause of, say, the problems in the learning of language in case of disabled learners? Is their disability the root cause? This is a precise question, very obvious. Obviously, the answer comes yes. Okay, but just as an example, I'm stating that a research problem needs to be, systematized, very well, and it should, in consultation with the research supervisor, we can polish it and bring out, frame a proper research question as such. As an example, I'm giving you this, where the answer is obviously yes. Okay, so research question could be the concluding part of research problem. And research problem should be properly delimited. It should be restricted. Okay. Formulation of a hypothesis. Yes, it is on the basis of research problem that we can formulate the hypothesis. Hypothesis is basis of, has the basis, not is the basis. Let me correct. A hypothesis has the basis of the research problem. So the research problem is the basis, and hypothesis is the next step. It comes out of research problem. So let me make this correction. There is a mistake in the first sentence. A hypothesis is a basis. No, a hypothesis has a basis. A hypothesis has a basis of the research problem. Make the correction. Inductive hypothesis and deductive hypothesis. Let's go for this. Inductive hypothesis and deductive. I'll comment on what is inductive and what is deductive a little later in the following slides. In one of the following slides, I'll be commenting on that. May I request Rutuja Pund madam to please turn off video. Pund madam. Pund madam, will you turn off video? It is a bit of distraction. Okay, it's a request to Pund madam to please turn off video. Okay, she'll take care of, I hope. So fine, let's concentrate. Inductive and deductive are the two terms I'll explain in the following slides. But hypothesis could be inductive and hypothesis could be deductive in their nature. Deductive is, in short, deductive is something that comes from the existing theories. Inductive is something that comes out of observations. Okay, from samples, from data, from the data that we collect. On the basis of the data, on the basis of the observation of the data, if we evolve hypothesis, then it is inductive hypothesis. Deductive hypothesis is on the basis of existing theories, on the basis of the conventions and norms in that theory, the principles and doctrines in that theory. if we evolve our hypothesis on the basis of the postulates, assumptions, doctrines, principles of any existing theory, then that hypothesis is deductive hypothesis. I'll clarify it, don't worry, in the following slides. Once the term inductive becomes clear, inductive hypothesis will become clear. Still, in simple words, inductive is from data to rule. From data to rule is inductive kind of journey of research. I would say progress of research is inductive when it is from data to rule. Okay. When it is from rule to data, it is deductive. Now, what is this rule? Consider rule as the point of analysis, parameter of analysis. Okay, parameter. So, if say from your data, if you evolve your parameters, basis of analysis, if the basis of analysis comes from the data itself, that is something inductive. If it comes from the existing theories, that means from the rules in the theory, from the say postulates of the theory, from doctrines of the theory, if you evolve hypothesis, it is deductive kind of hypothesis. I'll give more clarification on this in the following slides. We'll go for the other kinds of hypothesis. Research hypothesis could be directional or non-directional. A specific outcome is anticipated in directional hypothesis. Okay, examples are given. The class adopting learner-friendly approach will show better result than the class using a traditional instructional approach. This is example of a hypothesis where specific direction is given. Class using traditional method of learning and class using learner-friendly approach. Comparison is done and comparatively something is said. The hypothesis is formulated. Specific direction is given. So directional hypothesis. Non-directional, an outcome that is anticipated, but specific nature of the outcome is not mentioned. For example, there will be achievement differences between the groups of children using, say, cooperative group strategies, okay, and cooperative group strategies and individualized instructions, okay. So individualized instructions and cooperative group strategies are there, and it's a statement, non-directional, that there will be achievement differences, but what will be superior and what will be inferior is not mentioned. Difference will be there, but which one will be better, which one will be superior, which one will be inferior is not mentioned. So it is non-directional kind of hypothesis. Okay. Next, don't worry, I'll share this PPT with you. So it will remain with you for more reading, better understanding, all that. Statistical hypothesis is there. See, it gives out the statements of relationship, the difference that can be tested statistically. For example, the example helps you understand this. Statistical hypothesis, the example is given, that is self-explanatory. Adopting learner-friendly approach will show around 20% better result. So 20% better result will be that in terms of numbers and hypothesis written, that is hypothetical, that is statistical hypothesis. You see. Next one, null hypothesis. I hope you studied these things. Just a review. A statistical statement where no difference or relationship exists. It is statistical in nature and does not represent outcome that the researcher anticipates. It doesn't comment on the outcome of research. Okay. Rather, what does it mention? The examples are mentioned over there. I hope you can see the examples. Alphabetical nature of script of English language is not the root cause of spelling mistakes. Is an example of null hypothesis. So it uses negation. What is not responsible is mentioned in a null hypothesis, you see. Okay, there is no difference between pupil-teacher relations at the primary level of schools and the pupil-teacher relationship at the secondary level of schools. Okay, so no difference exists or not the root cause. Look at the way the hypotheses are framed. Okay, so negation is there, one no is there, and that makes it null hypothesis. So it's a statistical statement that claims no difference, no relationship exists. Okay, fine. I'm going to share the PPT with you, so this will be with you. If there are any doubts and difficulties taking hypothesis, importance of research methodology, you know about it. Say the research methodology and method, I have already talked about these things. The types of research methods is something important at this stage, I would say. Library method is one of the methods. Well, dear friends, I hope you know about this. Can anybody explain what is a library method? What is a library method? So library method is basically visiting libraries, collecting study material, and on the basis of books and journals that are available with you. So main basis is the books and journals, and on the basis of that, you carry out your research. So many times that the researcher can, after the visits and after the collection of books and journals and data, primary data, secondary data, all that. After the data is collected, the researcher can sit down and comfortably work. So it is a table work in the later part of the research. First part is visit to libraries for the collection of data, books, journals, etc. And the later stage is sitting down and focusing on the research. Then it is a table work. So these two aspects are there. Data collection, visits to library is there. Second, the table work is there. So that is inclusive there in library method. Fine. A survey method is there, and the survey method could be, see, questionnaire based or sometimes interview based. Okay, questionnaire based, I'm sure in social sciences, in commerce, also might be in science, environmental science, that you carry out a survey, and botany students even may carry out a survey for the collection of specimen, and they collect the specimen for the purpose of their research. So survey is definitely possible in science, in botany, precisely in environmental science, in commerce, also in language and literature, survey is carried out. Okay, survey sometimes is questionnaire based. Okay, that you prepare a questionnaire. I'm sure I need not explain what is a questionnaire. Okay, questionnaire is a list of questions that is prepared to elicit answers from the respondents. Okay, specific target group is there, and you prepare a questionnaire for maybe sometimes for students, for traders, for bank people, okay, for teachers, okay, for scientists, maybe you prepare a questionnaire and you elicit their responses. So questionnaire based survey is there. Sometimes it is interview based survey, you see, and the interviews are, say, structured interviews, unstructured interviews. Sometimes they are semi-structured interviews. Sometimes also that the interviews may not be semi-structured and unstructured and structured only. There are panel interviews, focus group interviews, case interviews, etc. Okay, structured interviews are the interviews where specific questions are there and they are common to all respondents. It's a set of consider 15 questions, 20 questions. Same 20 questions are there for all the respondents. Okay, so for your information, that the same 20 questions are there for all the respondents. Okay, and that for in case of unstructured interviews, the questions are not fixed. Okay, sometimes spontaneously you ask questions, and such a kind of interview is unstructured kind of interview. If you are interviewing a writer, if you are interviewing a bank manager, if you are interviewing an environmentalist, the scientists from environment science, scientists from botany, if you are interviewing such academicians, and if the questions are spontaneous questions, then the interview is unstructured kind of interview. You see, okay, structured interview, fixed set of questions is that common to all respondents. Unstructured interviews, spontaneous questions are there. Semi-structured, obviously you can understand some questions are common, some are spontaneous. Okay, so semi-structured. Panel interviews are there. Well, for a panel of academicians, you ask questions and thus you carry out the panel interviews. Focus group interviews are there, that you have some 20 students in a specific class. Okay, that is your focus group, or 50 students in a specific class, and that is your focus group, and you interview each one of them. Focus group interviews. Case interviews are there. Now, based on a specific topic, when you prepare questions and when you interview the concerned respondents, that is a case interview. Okay, specific financial company. Okay, specific kind of issue. Okay, zero budget, for example. Right now, that comes to my mind. Zero budget, for example, is the issue. Or when there was indirect tax, okay, GST. So based on GST issues, if you have some case, some specific problem related to GST, then you can prepare some questions specifically focusing on the issues pertaining to GST. That becomes your case interviews. Okay, case specific interviews. Okay, survey method could be interview based method. Observation method, you see that we make certain observations in plant science. Observation method may be used. You see that the growth of the plant, every day you note down some readings, you take some readings every week, the growth of certain kind of plant in different areas. Consider that in Ahmednagar district, selected area you visit and you note down your observations, taking the growth of a specific plant in selected part of Ahmednagar district. You also visit Pune district, you also visit Khandesh, Marathwada, and Vidarbha, and Konkan, and western part of Maharashtra, and in different, say, geographical areas. If you make observations regarding the growth of the specific type of plant, this could come under observation method as such. Okay, inductive and deductive. These are the two approaches, in fact, that we can consider. Before that, let me go for sampling, and at the end, I'll take you to inductive and deductive. Sampling method is that we have certain sample size that we collect 500 samples, 500 specimen. Okay, sometimes the sampling is a random sampling method is there. Okay, out of 1,000 students from your college, if you randomly select 100 students belonging to different classes, and if you interview them and collect responses, then that is a random sampling method. Okay, 5 students from each class. In each class, there are considered 50 students, but you collect data from 5 students from each class randomly. Okay, some out of those 5 students, some one of them could be topper, one of them could be average student, one of them could be the student that has many problems. Sometimes some students are good at learning, some are not so very good at learning. So different learners can be selected randomly from that class, and thus random sampling method could be used. Sample size could be fixed, random sampling could be done, and the research work could be carried out. Experimentation is there. Well, some experimental method in teaching, in ELT, English language teaching. If we make use of a specific method of teaching, okay, in a class, maybe translation method and direct method when it comes to education. Though the research scholars who have done their BEd and MEd, they might be knowing about these methods, direct method, grammar translation method, and all that. Okay, bilingual method. Now that for these sessions, we are using English, single language, single medium. Okay, but sometimes it could be bilingual. So what happens in a class while teaching, that if we use one language only, how is their progress? And if we teach them bilingually using English and Marathi, English and Hindi, Hindi and Marathi, only Hindi or only Marathi, such a kind of experimentation can be done. Okay, experimentation could be of any kind. In commerce, it may be different. In science, it may be different. In case of humanities, it could be different. So research work based on experiments has got experimentation as the method. I'll take you to inductive and deductive. See, when from the data that we collect, if we evolve the parameters, for that purpose, I have to explain what is a parameter. I have been talking about parameters of analysis, tools, techniques, and all that. What is a parameter? Parameter is the base of analysis. One parameter can be one basis of analysis, so one point of analysis. You can have 10 different parameters for your work of analysis. That we move to analytical framework. When we prepare a framework in which there are 10 different parameters of analysis, and note it properly, pay your attention. Parameter is the basis of analysis. When it comes to character analysis, in Shakespeare's drama, if there is a character Hamlet, I hope almost everybody knows about Hamlet as the play by William Shakespeare. To be or not to be, that is the question. We have heard of it, irrespective of subject discipline. Botany students know that, environmental science students know that. Perhaps I take it for granted. Anyways, so if we make the character analysis of Hamlet as a character, we have some basis of analysis. Hamlet as a son, Hamlet as a prince, Hamlet as a warrior, Hamlet an investigator, because Hamlet makes inquiry. Who is the murderer of my father? is the inquiry. Throughout the play, Hamlet is, carries out investigation and finds out who is the murderer. The story all. Finally, he finds out. He knows. See, that is Hamlet is a good play to understand what is hypothesis and what is conclusion. Hamlet, in the beginning of the play, is informed who is the murderer of his father. His uncle only is the murderer of his father. Claudius is the uncle. Okay. Who had murdered Hamlet's father. So the ghost of Hamlet's father had informed him, my child, my death is not natural death. It is not accidental death. It's a murder. So the ghost of Hamlet's father tells him that my death is a murder. It is not natural death. You take search. Okay. And your uncle has murdered me. Ghost already had informed Hamlet. In the beginning of this drama, we know that Hamlet knows already who is the murderer, but Hamlet wants to confirm it. So the information that Claudius is a murderer is hypothesis. Just the information. Hamlet is not sure. Hamlet does not believe in the comment made by a ghost. Information of the ghost. He knows that it is information given by a ghost. How can I believe? But he wants to check the reality, whether this information is correct or wrong. So Claudius is a murderer is Hamlet's hypothesis. And at the end of the play, Hamlet confirms that yes, Claudius is the murderer, and then he kills Claudius. But unfortunately, Hamlet also dies. That is why it's a tragedy. Dear friends, example of a good hypothesis and conclusion. So hypothesis is a notion, your guess, that this could be the fact. But when you confirm it in the course of your research, finally you confirm it that yes, it is true, or no, it is false. Whatever, hypothesis is proved or hypothesis is disproved at the end of your research work. So this could be a good example of hypothesis and say conclusion. Okay, fine. Now I'll take you to the basic point. Say we are discussing inductive and deductive research. Under that we were discussing parameters. When the parameter is developed from the data, that is called inductive kind of approach. But what is a parameter? To discuss that, we are discussing this example of Hamlet. What is a parameter? Parameter is a point of analysis. So Hamlet can be studied as a son, because father, the ghost of his father tells him that Claudius is murderer, and the son then takes the search. So Hamlet as a son can be studied. So Hamlet as a son is parameter number 1. Hamlet as a prince is parameter number 2. Hamlet as an investigator is parameter number 3. Fine. 3 parameters are sufficient for explanation. So these are the parameters of the analysis of Hamlet's character. So Hamlet can be analyzed on the basis of these 3 points. So these 3 points are called points of analysis. Technically, they are called parameters of analysis. I hope it is clear. Let me take feedback. It is essential, I think. Have you understood the concept of parameter? What is a parameter?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for your response. I take it for granted that all the attendees have understood what is a parameter, or already if you know, then fine, no issues. So parameter is the basis of analysis. And to evolve a parameter, to say formulate the parameters, is the very crux of analytical framework. But basically, you should understand what is a parameter. So parameter is the point of analysis, basis of analysis. In inductive method, now I take you to inductive and deductive. In inductive method, what happens is the parameters are not taken from any existing theory. The parameters are developed from the data itself. Means what? Let me continue with the same example. Hamlet as the drama. If you are doing character analysis of Hamlet, then from the play only, you understand about the qualities of Hamlet. Different qualities of Hamlet, different aspects of Hamlet's personality. That Hamlet can be studied as a son, as a prince, and as an investigator. You read the play, your play is your data. Your play, the script of that drama itself is primary data. So from that data only, you understand that Hamlet could be studied on the basis of these 3 points. There could be more points. For example, these 3 points. Hamlet as a son, Hamlet as a prince, and Hamlet as an investigator. So my parameters, means points of analysis, are developed from the script of that drama that I am going to study. Means the points of analysis, the parameters of analysis are developed from the data itself. Means the journey of my research is from data to parameter. Parameter can also be called rule, point of analysis. Okay, principle, something like this. So I have got my parameters from the data itself. In this case, my research work becomes inductive, because journey of my research is from data to parameter. What is deductive? Then it is exactly the other way around. If you look at this, we understand deductive method. Means the journey of research, when the journey of research is from data parameters, it is inductive. When the journey of research is from parameters to data, it is deductive. Means what? It means that you have already some existing theories. Suppose feminism is a theory. Postmodernism is a theory. Okay. So from existing theories, when you select some parameters, feminism has its own parameters to study the circumstances in which women face problems and all that. To study problems related to women, we can use feminist approach, feminist theory. Feminism already has some parameters. So what we do is we just pick out the parameters from feminism and apply them to data. Data means any selected novel. So in this case, what happens? The journey of your research is from theory, means from the parameters in that theory. From the parameters, your journey is to the data. Use the parameters in that theory that are already existing. You apply those parameters to your data. So the journey of your research is from parameters to data. This is deductive kind of research work. Now check what kind of research work you are carrying out. whether it is inductive in nature or deductive in nature. Okay. Sometimes you see it could be inductive, it could be even deductive. So I wanted to talk on these things. These are basic things, but in a coursework only, these things should be made clear. I know that I have started, from the very basis of analytical framework, but I had to because I felt that it won't be proper to jump onto analytical framework directly. Okay. That way, all these aspects are part and parcel of the to frame theoretical, analytical framework has all these steps. We go ahead following these steps to formulate the analytical framework. Analytical framework is the end product of literature review. That is why, first of all, revisited and discussed what is literature review. Literature review helps us understand gaps in literature, gaps in research work, and we can understand that if we choose this area, if we choose this area, my research could be original. My research will not be repetitive. We can understand it on the basis of literature. So thus, by studying the research works, by referring to different research works that have already taken place, we understand the gap in the research, that research area, and then we focus on that gap and we pick out our topic from that area so that our work becomes original. From different theories, from different books, we collect certain parameters which are useful perhaps for your research work. If we collect certain parameters from existing theories, study of existing theories is part of literature review, and collecting the parameters from those theories is part of the process of analytical framework, framing the analytical framework. So while framing your work of analysis, it is necessary to find out the parameters of analysis. To find out the parameter of analysis, you have to study different theories, different models of analysis, different approaches, and the previous research work, which is collectively the part of literature review. So literature review thus happens to be the basis of analytical framework. Literature review is inclusive of study of books, thesis, different research works, articles, documentaries, various government documents, which help you to find out what could be your research topic. So in the choice of research topic, you first of all have to visit the previously done research work, and that is your literature. And the same survey, the same literature review, the same visit to previous research work helps you frame the analytical framework. That is the reason why it is said that analytical framework is the end product of your literature review. So your literature review offers you certain parameters of analysis, which you can put together logically, considering the requirement of your research work. You can put together all those parameters and prepare the framework of analysis. Sometimes analytical framework can give you analytical model as such. I'm going to produce here before you one model, one analytical model, model of analysis, model for analysis. So analytical model could be part of analytical framework. So analytical framework precisely is the list of the parameters. Parameters are the points of analysis, or say the basis of analysis, and we find out that basis from literature review. That is why literature review is earlier step and analytical framework is the following step. We just cannot jump onto analytical framework without understanding literature review and the relevant topics. That's the reason why I felt like revisiting, revising, and discussing the relevant topics relevant to analytical framework and literature review. So literature review as earlier step, analytical framework as the next step. In analytical framework, we list the parameters of analysis, and then in your analysis chapter, you can have 10 analysis. Why is that need of analytical framework? Dear friends, try to understand, to make your research work systematic, you require a specific set of parameters. If there is a specific set, if a set contains 10 points, I'll call it 10-point analysis. In your chapter of analysis, and try to understand that yesterday Dr. Lavre sir told about the common kind of features in such that is common to all. For example, layout of thesis, layout of chapters, and all that. Introduction as chapter number 1, review of literature as chapter number 2. Then there are a couple of chapters, or 2, 3, 4 chapters, depending upon the requirement of your research work. There are chapters of analysis. And finally, there is chapter of conclusion. In this layout of your thesis, in this scheme of chapters, where do you locate analytical framework? Your analytical framework is at the end of chapter number 2. Chapter number 2, the product of chapter number 2 is analytical framework. So try and come out with analytical framework as a chapter, as a product of chapter number 2, literature review. In consultation with your research supervisor, you definitely can do this. Chapter 1, introduction. Chapter 2, we label it in different ways. We entitle it in different ways as theoretical framework, theoretical review, review of literature, extensive survey of literature, and all that. Title could be anything. In consultation with research guide, you can decide the title, finalize the title of chapter number 2. But normally chapter number 2 is literature review. And that after we carry out literature review, what could be a product of literature review? That is analytical framework. Analytical framework is, a kind of bridge between literature review and analysis. Your review of literature and your work of analysis are bridged by analytical framework. So at the end of literature review, we should be in a position to finalize the parameters of analysis. That these 10 points will be the 10 parameters for me, and I will use the same 10 points for the work of analysis. Why is it essential to have the framework of analysis to make our research work systematic in the first place? And very importantly, to make our research work objectivity. If it's a 10-point analysis, and if you are studying all the samples that you have collected, all the specimen that you have collected, on the basis of the same 10 points, there will be uniformity in your work, and uniformity is a prime concern, central concern of objectivity of research. Your results remain, same. You get uniformity in your results. You get objectivity in your results. You just cannot go on testing the samples with variety of parameters. These 10 parameters for sample number 1, different parameters from sample 2, again some different parameters for sample number 3. If you go on studying like this, you will get variety of conclusions that will not have the same basis, means your results will be subjective, not objective. So to maintain objectivity, which is the very crux of research work, it's a very basic aspect of research work, that research work has to be objective. Yesterday in one of the slides in the beginning of my last session, at the point subjectivity and objectivity. Your study otherwise could be subjective in nature, but when it comes to research, your study has to be objective in nature. Means the results need specific basis, specific parameters, specific analytical framework, so that there is uniformity in your work of analysis. If there are 10 specimens analyzed, if there are 10 samples analyzed, or consider 100 samples analyzed, 100 specimens analyzed, analyze them, study them, investigate whatever issue you are investigating on the basis of the same 10 points. 10 points is not fixed number. It could be 11, 12, 9, 15, anything. You can finalize that in consultation with research supervisor. Consider, for example, 10-point analysis. So every sample could be studied with the help of the same 10 points. Then it gives uniformity in my work of analysis, and it gives objectivity to the result that I get out of that analysis. Analysis gives out findings, conclusions. So conclusion is a product of analysis. Analysis is a product of analytical framework, and analytical framework is a product of literature review. Try and understand this hierarchy in the process of research. So, dear friends, we need to understand these basic aspects of research work, research methodology, research methods, process of research, and all that. So, literature review, we need to understand what is literature review. We have to carry out that. Literature review gives us certain parameters. We can put them in a particular frame. We call it analytical framework. We use that analytical framework for the work of analysis, and that analysis gives us findings, or what we call conclusions. Then we can compare what was my hypothesis and what is my conclusion. There you can understand whether my hypothesis is proved or disproved, whether my hypothesis is correct or wrong, something like this. So it's a process, and it has certain steps, it has certain hierarchy as such. So analytical framework could be located in this process of research at the end of chapter number 2 and before the beginning of chapter number 3, that is chapter of analysis. Number of chapter is not important. Steps in research are important. The analytical framework is a step between literature review and work of analysis. So between them, there is a bridge of analytical framework, dear friends. Now, language and literature can have such critical approaches and linguistic approaches, which already have some parameters. Theories in science could have some parameters already exist. If they are applicable to your research work, fine, apply. If not applicable, then evolve your own parameters from the theories, from the data and all that. See, we have discussed these things already. And we have discussed these points also already. So analytical framework is quite important. In the analysis, in analytical framework, I have mentioned already that there are certain parameters of analysis. We can list them and it could become analytical framework containing 10 points, for example. Sometimes I say it is literature review helps us to bring out a model for analysis. This is one model for your information. If time allows us, and if your patience allows me, I can talk a little about this model in shortest possible time. This is a model regarding communication. Dr. Varpe sir and Dr. Khidkar sir can inform you more about this. Varshuran was a pragmatician. Pragmatics is a branch of language study in which meaning of language is studied. Meaning of communication is studied in pragmatics, very broadly speaking. There are many details. But in short, I can say meaning of language is studied. There is a linguist working in the area of pragmatics named Varshuran. It is this model of Varshuran. It is technically called contextual correlates of adaptability. I will not take you to technical details. It will take more time. But let me simplify this. Okay. And I'm sure that you will enjoy, learning about this model of analysis. I have told you earlier that analytical framework could be the list of 10 parameters, 15 parameters. It could be the list of parameters. In some cases, your analytical framework could be, a model for analysis. You can even evolve at the end of literature review. You can come out with your own model of analysis. This is a model of analysis, analytical model. Okay. It has its own parameters inbuilt there in the model itself. Let me try to explain it in short. I'm sure it is enjoyable. It is interesting model, and I'm sure you'd love to, learn about it. This is about communication, meaning of communication, meaning of language. What you can see in this diagram is there is a W at the center. Do you see the W at the center? Please answer me.
Yes,
I need your feedback.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, fine. Thank you. So you can see a W at the center. Now let me correct. It is not a W. It looks like a W, but it is not a W. There are two V shapes. Two V shapes are there that are brought, and this kind of design, this kind of diagram is formed over there. Do you agree on this?
Yes,
Do you
sir.
agree on this point that there are two V-shaped diagrams that are put together to form this diagram that looks like a W shape. Now I call your attention to the bottom of these two V's. At the bottom of first V over here, what is the letter written? What is the alphabet written at the bottom of first V in this diagram?
U and
over
I.
here. Yes, please.
U and
Okay,
I,
good.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Renuka madam, thank you so much. You and I are the two letters. Now let me simplify. You means utterer. Simple words. You means utterer. Utterer means speaker. Okay, speaker. It is model related to language and communication and meaning of language. Okay. So in this model, what way meaning can be studied? A wonderful model. You is utterer, means who utters, speaks. So you is speaker. The alphabet at the end of the second V, at the bottom of the second V, you have I. I means interpreter. Interpreter in simple words is listener. So first V, at the end there is speaker, at the end there is listener, speaker and listener. So first V is the V of speaker, second V is the V of listener. So two V's are first V, speaker's V, listener's V. They are brought together. Now the proposition is that this model wants to tell us that whatever communication we make becomes meaningful. See, becomes meaningful when it is done in the shared context. In the left top corner, the word context is there. Context means background. See, my world of experience. If I am a speaker and if you are listeners, I, as a speaker, have my own world of experience. And you, as listeners, you have your own world of experience. Our worlds could be physical world. From physical world, we get some experiences. From our social world, we get some experiences. And from our mental world also, we have some experiences. Now consider that both the speaker and the listeners have their own experiences. When speaker says something, and when listener listens to that thing, the speaking becomes meaningful only when the words are, when the language is used from the common experience. Let me give you an example. There was an American lady and an Indian lady. See, American lady and Indian lady, they are talking to each other. American lady looks at the necklace of Indian lady and asks her the question, what kind of necklace is this? Indian lady answers, now this is important sentence. We are going to use this as a sample in this model of analysis. This sentence that I'm going to use. The sample is Indian lady's answer. Question is, what kind of necklace is this? Indian lady answers, this is Mangal Sutra. Indian lady answers, this is Mangal Sutra. Now, you can understand that for Indians, it is quite easy to understand this sentence. But for American lady, two words could be understood. This is, the two words could be understood. But Mangal Sutra is the third word in this sentence. This sentence, this sample has only three words. Okay. There are three words only in this sentence, in this sample. we are going to process this sample in this model. This sample has 3 words. American lady understands first 2 words. The 3 words are, this is a Mangal Sutra, or this is Mangal Sutra. This is Mangal Sutra is the sample. American lady understands first 2 words, but she fails to understand 3rd word. See, American lady fails to understand, means does not understand the word Mangal Sutra because it is not in their culture. It is not in her culture, and as Renuka madam said, it is not the part of her world of experience. She has not experienced anything earlier like Mangal Sutra. She has seen many kinds of necklaces, but Mangal Sutra is a different kind of necklace. Because it is not in her culture, as Anuradha madam pointed out, and because it was not part of her world of experience, as Renuka madam pointed out, she could not understand the word Mangal Sutra. Now we'll come to these 2 V's. These 2 V's, speakers V and listeners V, V of American lady and the V of Indian lady, they come together, and now you can see I'm making movement of my finger so that you can point out that at the center, these 2 V's come together, and at the center, they form another V. Do you agree on this point? It is a common V that is formed in the diagram. May not be in this with the help of these fingers, but now look at the diagram and you understand that the 2 V's are brought together and a common V is also formed at the center. Do you agree on this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now you see, very important comment I'm going to make now. When American lady understands 2 words, these 2 words are from the common world of experience. They are from the common world of experience. That is common world of Indian and American lady. But the word Mangal Sutra belongs to the world of Indian lady, but it does not belong to the world of American lady. It belongs to the cultural context of Indian lady, but it does not belong to the cultural context of American lady. That is the reason why it is not understood. Now, the proposition of this model is language becomes understandable. Our language becomes meaningful only when it is used in the area of this central V. Central V is common V, or say shared context. The central V, the common V, is the common world. When we use words that are in the common world of both speaker and listener, then only language becomes meaningful. If a word is not from the speaker or listener, that word remains meaningless, or that needs to be understood. That can be understood later on after explanation, but it requires explanation. So, language becomes meaningful in the shared context. That is the concluding remark of this. That is the proposition of this model. Whatever language becomes meaningful is it is used in the shared context. If the context is shared, language becomes meaningful. If the context is not shared, language does not become meaningful. So that is the proposition of this model. This is an example of model of analysis. Analytical framework is supposed to bring out such analytical models. Now, Varshoran is a big name in the area of, in the discipline of pragmatics, pragmatic studies, meaning of language. So obviously, you can now understand the quality of research. This is a product of research. This is product of the literature review that Varcharan might have carried out, and that he carried out the literature review. He brought out, he evolved the model of analysis, and then this model could be used for the further work of analysis. We have just analyzed one sample. This is Mangal Sutra, is one sample that we analyzed with the help of this analytical framework, this analytical model. So analytical framework could be the set of parameters, or it could also have, say, the evolution of such an analytical model. So dear friends, if it is possible, try and evolve any analytical model that itself becomes the product of your research. A very good quality product of your research. And it could be done. Okay, so thank you. This is another model. In fact, it's a hypothetical model of communication in drama. For language and literature students, see, communication in drama takes place in this way. Message is transmitted in narrative form, in converse. And well, let me continue. So communication in drama takes place in this way. This is a hypothetical model, analytical model. Okay, this is just one more example of model. Okay, so friends, now I leave the session open for questions and answers. I would like to answer your questions, if any. Thank you.